I never imagined my life would take such a twisted turn. It started on an ordinary Tuesday evening as I sat in my home office sifting through emails. The gentle hum of the air conditioner was the only sound, a stark contrast to the chaos that would soon unfold. "Tim, are you home?" My wife's voice echoed from the foyer. I put down my laptop and headed to greet her. "Yeah, I am here. How was your day?" I asked, trying to keep things normal. Andrea looked tired, her eyes avoiding mine. "Long day at the gym, then had to run some errands," she replied, her tone detached. Just then the doorbell rang. Frowning, I walked over and opened the door, revealing a tall man in an impeccably tailored suit. His presence was commanding, his gaze piercing. "Hello, Timothy," he said with a smirk. "I am Alex, Andrea 's lawyer." Confused, I glanced at Andrea, who was now standing behind me, her face pale. "Lawyer? What's this about?" Alex brushed past me, entering the living room as if he owned the place. He turned to face me, his smirk widening. "I am here because there's something you need to understand, Timothy. I am going to sleep with your wife because I am a real alpha male and you have to obey, and when we are done, maybe I'll let her fondle you." His words hit me like a punch to the gut. My mind reeled, anger boiling up inside me. Andrea just stood there, silent and tense. "You think you can come into my house and say something like that?" I growled, stepping towards him. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Alex chuckled, unfazed. "Someone who knows what he wants and takes it. Unlike you." My fists clenched. Every fiber of my being wanted to wipe that smug look off his face. But I knew I had to be smart. Acting rashly could make things worse. Instead, I decided to play along, to get him to reveal more of his plan. "So, this is your game?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You think you can just take what you want?" Alex shrugged. "It's not about what I think. It's about what I will do. Andrea knows it too." Andrea's eyes met mine, a flicker of fear and guilt in them. This wasn't just about some twisted power play. There was more to it, and I was going to find out what. "Get out," I said through gritted teeth. "Now!" Alex raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. "All right, Timothy, but remember, this isn't over." He walked out, leaving a tense silence in his wake. Once he was gone, I turned to Andrea. "What the hell is going on, Andrea? Why was he here?" She looked down, tears welling up in her eyes. "Tim, I am so sorry. I never wanted any of this to happen." "Then explain it to me," I demanded. "What did he mean?" She took a deep breath, struggling to find the words. He's been blackmailing me, Tim. I made a mistake and now he is using it against me." My anger shifted to a cold determination. "What mistake?" Andrea's voice broke as she confessed. "I slept with him. It was a one-time thing and I regretted it immediately. But he recorded it, and now he's threatening to ruin our lives if I don't comply." The revelation was a gut punch, but there was no time for self-pity. I needed to protect what was left of our marriage. "All right, we'll deal with this, together. But first, we're going to teach Alex a lesson he won to forget." Andrea looked at me, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "What do you have in mind?" I smirked, my mind racing with plans for revenge. "Oh, I've got a few ideas. He thinks he's an alpha male. Let's show him what happens when you mess with the wrong people." The next few days were a blur of tension and secrecy. Andrea and I barely spoke about the situation except for quick, hushed conversations. We both knew we had to tread carefully. Alex's arrogance had given me an idea, and I was going to use it to turn the tables. I started by gathering evidence. Andrea handed over her phone, and I combed through messages and emails. There it was, a slew of messages from Alex, filled with veiled threats and lewd suggestions. It was more than enough to build a case. My next step was to ensure Alex didn't see our retaliation coming. I had a friend, Mark, who worked as a private investigator. I called him up and explained the situation, leaving out no detail. "Damn, Tim, that ass messed up." "You sure you want to go through with this?" Mark asked, concern evident in his voice. "I don't have a choice. He's not just threatening our marriage, he's trying to dominate our lives. Can you help?" Mark agreed, and we set up a plan to gather even more incriminating evidence on Alex. If he was blackmailing Andrea, there was a good chance he was doing it to others too. Meanwhile, I needed to keep Alex thinking he had the upper hand. I started playing along, pretending to be submissive while secretly preparing for the takedown. It wasn't easy. Every time Alex smirked or made a snide comment, it took all my willpower not to lash out. One evening, Alex decided to pay another visit. Andrea was out, so it was just the two of us. He sauntered in, making himself comfortable on the couch. "Good evening, Timothy," he said, his tone dripping with mockery. "What do you want, Alex?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. "Oh, just a little chat. How are you holding up? Must be tough, knowing your wife prefers a real man." I clenched my fists but managed to keep my composure. "What do you want from us? We've done everything you asked." Alex leaned back, a smug grin on his face. "What I want, Timothy, is to make sure you understand your place. Andrea belongs to me now. You are just collateral." I nodded, feigning submission. "Fine. Just leave us alone after this, please." Alex chuckled, clearly enjoying his perceived victory. "We'll see. Maybe I'll get bored of her eventually. But for now, you do as I say and things might just stay quiet." As soon as he left, I called Mark. "It's time. Did you get everything we need?" Mark's voice crackled through the phone. "Yeah, we've got plenty. Turns out Alex has been blackmailing a few other women too. We've got recordings, messages, the works. He's going down." I felt a surge of relief. Perfect. Let us move forward. The next day, we put our plan into action. Mark handed over all the evidence to his contacts in law enforcement, and we filed a restraining order against Alex. But that wasn't enough for me. I wanted him to feel the same fear and helplessness he had inflicted on Andrea and me. We arranged for a meeting with Alex at a cafe. Andrea and I arrived first, sitting at a table in the corner. When Alex walked in, he looked smug as ever, but that changed quickly when he saw the police officers waiting for him. "What the hell is this?" he snarled, trying to back away. One of the officers stepped forward. "Alex Thompson, you're under arrest for blackmail, harassment, and extortion. You have the right to remain silent." As they read him his rights and cuffed him, I saw the shock and fear in his eyes. It was a sight I would never forget. Andrea squeezed my hand, relief washing over her face. "It's over, Tim. We did it." I nodded, a weight lifting off my shoulders. "Yeah, we did. But this is just the beginning. We need to rebuild, move forward." She smiled, a genuine smile that I hadn't seen in a long time. Together, I agreed. As we watched Alex being led away, I knew our lives would never be the same. But for the first time in weeks, I felt hope. We had faced the darkness and come out stronger. Now, it was time to heal and reclaim our lives. With Alex out of the picture, Andrea and I could finally start to rebuild our lives. The initial relief was overwhelming, but the road ahead was still daunting. We had to address the underlying issues in our relationship and find a way to heal from the betrayal and manipulation. We decided to take a few days off work and head to a cabin in the mountains, a place where we could reconnect without distractions. The drive was long and quiet, filled with unspoken thoughts and emotions. But as we pulled up to the cabin, nestled among tall pines and overlooking a serene lake, a sense of peace began to settle in. The first evening was awkward. We made dinner together, our movements careful and measured, like dancers who had forgotten the steps. As we sat down to eat, I decided to break the silence. "Andrea, I know this isn't going to be easy, but I want us to be honest with each other. No more secrets." She nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. "I agree, Tim. I am so sorry for everything. I never wanted to hurt you." "I know," I said softly. "But we need to understand why this happened if we were going to move forward." Over the next few days, we talked more than we had in years. We unpacked our feelings, our fears, and the pain we had both endured. Andrea opened up about how she had felt neglected, how Alex had preyed on her vulnerability and manipulated her into a situation she couldn't control. I shared my own struggles, how the betrayal had shattered my trust and left me questioning everything. One afternoon, we took a hike along a forest trail. The crisp mountain air and the rhythmic crunch of leaves underfoot were therapeutic. We reached a clearing with a breathtaking view of the valley below and sat on a fallen log. "Tim," Andrea began, her voice trembling, "I want to make things right. I know it will take time, but I am willing to do whatever it takes to rebuild your trust. I looked at her, seeing the sincerity in her eyes. I appreciate that, Andrea, and I want to rebuild too, but it's going to be a long process. We have to be patient with each other. She nodded, a small smile forming. I understand, and I am ready for that. Back at the cabin, we made a list of steps to take once we returned home. Couples therapy was at the top of the list. We needed professional help to navigate the complex emotions and rebuild our foundation. We also agreed to set aside time each week just for us, to talk and reconnect. When we returned home, the first session with the therapist was nerve-wracking. Dr. Collins was a kind, middle-aged woman with a soothing presence. She made us feel comfortable, encouraging us to speak openly and honestly. Andrea, why don't you start by telling Tim what you told me earlier? Dr. Collins suggested. Andrea took a deep breath. Tim, I've realized that a lot of my actions stemmed from a place of insecurity and fear. I didn't feel worthy of your love, and when Alex came along, he played on those fears. But that doesn't excuse what I did. I should have come to you instead. I nodded, absorbing her words. I appreciate your honesty. I've also been thinking about how I might have contributed to the distance between us. I got so wrapped up in work and other things that I didn't notice you were struggling. I am sorry for that. Dr. Collins smiled. This is a good start. Acknowledging each other as feelings and responsibilities is crucial. Now, let us work on rebuilding that trust. The sessions were tough, filled with raw emotions and painful truths, but they also brought us closer. Slowly, the wounds began to heal. We learned to communicate better, to be more attentive to each other as needs. Outside of therapy, we started doing things together again. Simple things like cooking dinner, watching movies, or going for walks. We rediscovered the joy in each other as company, the little things that had initially brought us together. One evening, a few months after Alex's arrest, we were sitting on the porch, watching the sunset. Andrea turned to me, her eyes reflecting the warm hues of the sky. Tim, I'm grateful for this second chance. I promise I'll never take it for granted. I took her hand, squeezing it gently. I'm grateful too, Andrea. We've been through hell, but we came out stronger. I believe in us. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt a sense of hope and renewal. We still had a long way to go, but we were on the right path. Together, we could face whatever challenges lay ahead. Months passed, and slowly but surely, Andrea and I found ourselves on more solid ground. Our therapy sessions continued to be a cornerstone of our healing, and we both committed to the hard work of rebuilding our relationship. One of the pivotal steps in this journey was learning to trust each other again. We had to rebuild our foundation from the ground up. One evening, after a particularly enlightening therapy session, Andrea suggested something that took me by surprise. Tim, I think we should take a trip together, just the two of us. Somewhere new, where we can create fresh memories. The idea intrigued me. We had been so focused on healing the past that perhaps a change of scenery would help us look towards the future. That sounds like a good idea, I replied. Where do you want to go? Andrea's face lit up with excitement. How about Italy? I've always wanted to visit Tuscany. The vineyards, the food, the scenery. It could be the perfect place for us to reconnect. I agreed, and we started planning the trip. It felt good to have something to look forward to, something that symbolized a fresh start. We booked our flights, reserved a cozy villa in the countryside, and packed our bags with a mix of nervous anticipation and hopeful excitement. When we arrived in Tuscany, it was like stepping into a postcard. Rolling hills, lush vineyards, and charming villages greeted us at every turn. Our villa was nestled in a secluded spot, offering privacy and stunning views of the landscape. It was the perfect setting for us to leave behind the ghosts of our past and focus on each other. Our days were filled with exploration and relaxation. We visited local markets, sampled delicious wines at various vineyards, and indulged in authentic Italian cuisine. We spent hours talking, laughing, and rediscovering the joy in each other's company. One afternoon, as we wandered through a vineyard, Andrea took my hand and led me to a quiet spot overlooking the valley. We sat down on a blanket, the sun warming our faces. Tim, she began, her voice soft. "This trip has been wonderful. Being here with you, I feel like we are finding our way back to each other." I smiled, squeezing her hand. "I feel the same way. It's as like we are finally able to breathe again, to enjoy each other without the weight of the past dragging us down." Andrea looked at me, her eyes filled with emotion. "I want us to keep moving forward, to keep building this new life together. No more secrets, no more lies, just us." "I want that too," I said, pulling her into a gentle embrace. "We've come a long way, and I am proud of us." That evening, we cooked dinner together in the Villa-S rustic kitchen. The simple act of preparing a meal side by side felt intimate and grounding. As we sat down to eat, Andrea raised her glass. "To us," she said, her smile radiant. "To new beginnings, to new beginnings," I echoed, clinking my glass with hers. The trip to Tuscany marked a turning point for us. When we returned home, we brought back more than just souvenirs and photos. We carried with us a renewed sense of commitment and hope. Life wasn't perfect, and there were still moments of doubt and insecurity, but we faced them together, stronger than before. Back at work, things started to settle down as well. I felt more focused, more driven to succeed, not just for myself, but for the life Andrea and I were rebuilding. My colleagues noticed the change, and I even received a promotion that had been long overdue. One day I received an unexpected email from Alex S., former law firm. It was from his replacement, informing me that Alex had taken a plea deal and was sentenced to several years in prison. The news brought a sense of closure, knowing that the man who had tried to destroy our lives was finally facing justice. Andrea and I celebrated quietly, understanding that while Alex's chapter in our lives was closed, our journey was far from over. We continued our therapy sessions, remained committed to open communication, and made time for each other amidst our busy schedules. Our story wasn't a fairy tale, but it was real. It was about two people who had faced immense challenges and chose to fight for their love. And in that fight, we found a deeper connection, one built on honesty, resilience, and a shared vision for the future. As we stood on the porch of our home one evening, watching the sunset, Andrea wrapped her arms around me. "We're going to be okay, aren't we?" she asked softly. I kissed her forehead, feeling a profound sense of peace. "Yes, we are. Together, we can face anything." And as the sun dipped below the horizon, I knew in my heart that our new beginning was just the start of many more beautiful chapters to come. With Alex out of the picture and our Tuscany trip having revitalized our relationship, Andrea and I were finally beginning to feel like we had turned a corner. We were more connected, more open, and more determined to build a stronger future together. But the journey was far from over, and we knew it. One evening, Andrea and I were sitting on the couch talking about our plans for the future. "Tim, I've been thinking about something," Andrea began, her voice tentative. "What is on your mind?" I asked, giving her my full attention. "I think we should move. A fresh start in a new place might be exactly what we need. This house holds so many memories, both good and bad. Maybe it is time to create new ones somewhere else." The idea of moving had crossed my mind as well. Our home, as much as we loved it, was filled with reminders of the past. A new environment could be the perfect way to solidify our fresh start. "I've thought about that too," I admitted. "A new place could be good for us. Do you have any ideas on where you'd like to go?" Andrea smiled, her eyes lighting up. "I have always loved the idea of living near the coast. Maybe somewhere like Maine. The beautiful landscapes, the peaceful towns, it feels right. Maine. The idea excited me. I could picture us in a charming coastal town, with the ocean as our backdrop and a close-knit community to support us. "Let S do it," I said, feeling a rush of excitement. "Let S start looking for places and see what S out there." Over the next few weeks, we threw ourselves into the search. We spent evenings scouring real estate websites, sending inquiries, and even taking a few weekend trips to visit potential towns. Eventually, we found a beautiful house in a small coastal town called Camden. It was perfect, nestled among trees with a stunning view of the ocean. The decision was made. We sold our house, packed up our belongings, and prepared for the big move. It was bittersweet saying goodbye to the place that had been our home for so many years, but the excitement of a new beginning outweighed the sadness. The move itself was chaotic, but exhilarating. We arrived in Camden to a warm welcome from our new neighbors, who were friendly and eager to help us settle in. Our new home felt cozy and inviting, and we quickly began to make it our own. One weekend, after we had settled in, Andrea suggested we host a small housewarming party. It was a great way to meet more of our neighbors and start building connections in our new community. We spent the day preparing, cooking, and decorating, and by the time evening rolled around, everything was ready. Our new friends arrived with smiles and warm greetings, bringing dishes to share and plenty of stories. The atmosphere was lively and welcoming, and I felt a sense of belonging that I hadn't felt in a long time. Andrea was radiant, moving through the crowd with ease, laughing and chatting with everyone. As the evening wore on, I found myself standing on the porch, looking out at the ocean. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore was soothing, and I took a deep breath, feeling content. "Beautiful, isn't it?" a voice said beside me. It was James, one of our neighbors. "It really is," I agreed, turning to face him. "We are so happy to be here. It feels like the perfect place for a fresh start." James nodded, taking a sip of his drink. "We are glad to have you. This town is special, and we look out for each other here. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to ask." "Thanks, James. That means a lot," I said, feeling genuinely grateful. The party was a success, and as the last guests left, Andrea and I collapsed onto the couch, exhausted but happy. "I think we made the right choice," Andrea said, resting her head on my shoulder. "I know we did," I replied, wrapping my arm around her. "This is exactly what we needed." In the weeks that followed, life in Camden settled into a comfortable rhythm. We made new friends, explored the beautiful surroundings, and continued to work on our relationship. Our therapy sessions now took place over video calls, and Dr. Collins was pleased with our progress. One afternoon, while we were walking along the beach, Andrea turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Tim, I have been thinking a lot about our future, about what we want and where we are headed." "Me too," I said, curious about what she had in mind. "I want to start a family," she said, her voice filled with hope. "I know it is something we talked about before, and everything that happened put it on hold, but I think we are ready now." Her words took me by surprise, but in a good way. The idea of starting a family had always been a dream of ours, and hearing Andrea express it so confidently made my heart swell with love. "I think we are ready too," I said, smiling at her. "Let's do it. Let us start a family." Andrea's face lit up with joy, and she threw her arms around me, hugging me tightly. "I love you, Tim. Thank you for believing in us." "I love you too, Andrea. And I believe in us more than ever." As we stood there, embracing on the beach with the ocean waves crashing around us, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. We had been through so much, but we had come out stronger, together. And now, with a bright future ahead of us, I knew that no matter what challenges came our way, we would face them side by side. The decision to start a family brought a new layer of excitement and anticipation to our lives. Andrea and I were more united than ever, our bond strengthened by the trials we had faced together. We began making preparations, visiting doctors, and ensuring everything was in place for this new chapter. Our days were filled with a mix of routine and novelty. We settled into our new jobs. Andrea found work as a fitness instructor at a local gym, and I set up a woodworking shop in the garage, taking on custom furniture projects for the community. Our evenings were spent exploring Camden, making new friends, and immersing ourselves in the local culture. One sunny Saturday morning, we decided to visit the Farmer S Market. The bustling stalls, filled with fresh produce, homemade crafts, and local delicacies, were a delight. Andrea and I wandered hand in hand, sampling everything from artisan cheeses to organic honey. As we were admiring a display of hand-carved wooden bowls, a familiar face appeared. It was Emily, a neighbor we had met at our housewarming party. She greeted us with a warm smile. "Good morning, you two. How are you settling in?" Emily asked. "We are loving it here," Andrea replied, returning the smile. "It feels like home already." "That's great to hear. Have you met the Reynolds yet? They run the bakery on Main Street. Lovely couple, and their pastries are to die for." Emily said, pointing towards a nearby stall. Not yet, but we'll definitely check it out, I said. As we chatted, Emily mentioned a community event happening the following weekend, a charity run to support the local Children's Hospital. Andrea's eyes lit up at the idea. We should participate, Tim. It'll be a fun way to get involved and support a good cause, she said enthusiastically. I agreed, and we signed up for the run, excited to contribute to our new community. The event was a great success, with people of all ages coming together for a common goal. Andrea and I ran side by side, enjoying the camaraderie and the sense of purpose. After the race, there was a celebratory picnic in the park. As we sat on a blanket, enjoying the delicious food and lively atmosphere, I realized how far we had come. Camden had welcomed us with open arms, and we were thriving in this new environment. One evening, as we were getting ready for bed, Andrea turned to me with a thoughtful expression. Tim, I've been thinking about our journey. Everything we've been through, the ups and downs made me realize how strong we are together, she said. I nodded, taking her hand. I feel the same way. We've faced so much and we've come out stronger because of it. Andrea's eyes sparkled with determination. I want to document our story, not just for us, but for others who might be going through similar struggles. Maybe it can help someone else find hope and strength. The idea resonated with me. Our story was one of resilience and love, and sharing it could be a way to give back. We decided to start a blog, chronicling our journey and offering advice and support to others facing relationship challenges. Writing the blog became a therapeutic process for both of us. We recounted the painful moments, the triumphs, and everything in between. Our honesty resonated with readers, and we received messages of gratitude from people who found solace in our story. As the months passed, our lives continued to evolve. Andrea and I were closer than ever, and our dream of starting a family became a reality when Andrea announced she was pregnant. The joy and excitement were indescribable, and we began preparing for the arrival of our little one. Our friends and neighbors in Camden were incredibly supportive, offering advice, gifts, and even babysitting services. We felt truly blessed to be part of such a caring community. One crisp autumn evening, we decided to take a walk along the beach. The setting sun cast a golden glow over the water, and the sound of the waves was soothing. Andrea and I walked hand in hand, talking about our hopes and dreams for the future. Tim, do you ever think about how far we've come? Andrea asked, her voice filled with wonder. All the time, I replied. It's amazing to think about where we were and where we are now. I'm so grateful for everything we've built together. Andrea smiled, leaning her head against my shoulder. Me too. I wouldn't change a thing. Every challenge, every triumph, it's all led us here. As we continued walking, I felt a deep sense of contentment. Life wasn't perfect, and it never would be. But we had each other, and we were stronger than ever. Together, we could face anything that came our way. With our baby on the way, our blog gaining traction, and our love for each other growing stronger every day, the future looked bright. Andrea and I were ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that as long as we had each other, we could conquer anything. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, I pulled Andrea close, feeling the gentle swell of her belly against me. This was our life, our journey, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The next few months flew by as we prepared for the arrival of our baby. The community rallied around us, offering support and advice, and our blog continued to grow, connecting us with people from all over who found solace in our journey. Andrea's pregnancy was smooth, and we cherished every moment, eagerly anticipating the day we would become parents. One chilly winter evening, as Andrea and I sat by the fireplace sipping hot cocoa, she suddenly winced and placed a hand on her belly. Tim, I think it is time, she said, her voice a mix of excitement and nervousness. My heart skipped a beat. Are you sure? She nodded, breathing deeply. Yes, I'm sure. We need to go to the hospital. I grabbed the hospital bag we had packed weeks earlier and helped Andrea to the car. The drive to the hospital was a blur of adrenaline and anticipation. When we arrived, the staff quickly got us settled into a room, and the reality of what was about to happen hit me. We were about to become parents. The labor was long and intense. But Andrea was incredibly strong. I held her hand, offering words of encouragement, marveling at her strength and resilience. After hours of labor, we finally heard the first cry of our baby. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. "It's a girl," the doctor announced, placing our daughter in Andrea's arms. Tears of joy streamed down our faces as we looked at our tiny miracle. She was perfect, with a head full of dark hair and big, curious eyes. "She's beautiful," I whispered, kissing Andrea's forehead. "You did amazing." Andrea smiled, her eyes filled with love. "We did it, Tim. She's here." We named her Sophia, a name that held special meaning for both of us. Holding her in my arms for the first time, I felt an overwhelming surge of love and protectiveness. This tiny human was a part of us, a symbol of our love and resilience. Our first days as parents were a whirlwind of emotions and sleepless nights, but we faced every challenge together. Andrea and I took turns caring for Sophia, learning the ropes of parenthood one day at a time. The support from our community was invaluable. Friends and neighbors brought meals, offered to babysit, and provided endless encouragement. One afternoon, while Sophia napped, Andrea and I sat on the porch enjoying a rare moment of quiet. "Can you believe she's finally here?" Andrea asked, her voice filled with wonder. "It feels like a dream," I replied, squeezing her hand. "A beautiful, exhausting dream." Andrea laughed softly. "I couldn't have asked for a better partner in this journey. Thank you for being my rock, Tim." "And thank you for being mine," I said, kissing her gently. "We've come so far, and I know we can handle anything that comes our way." As Sophia grew, so did our bond as a family. We cherished every milestone, from her first smile to her first steps. Watching her discover the world was a constant reminder of the beauty of life and the strength of our love. Our blog continued to thrive, and we shared our experiences as new parents, offering tips and support to others. The messages we received were heartwarming, and we felt a deep sense of fulfillment in knowing that our story was helping others navigate their own challenges. One evening, as we sat together reading messages from our readers, Andrea turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Tim, I've been thinking about how much our blog has grown. What if we turned it into something more? Maybe write a book about our journey?" The idea excited me. That's a great idea. Our story could reach even more people, and it could be a way to give back. We began working on the book, recounting our journey from the painful betrayal to the joyful arrival of Sophia. It was a labor of love, and the process brought us even closer. Reliving our experiences, both good and bad, reminded us of how far we had come and how much we had overcome together. One day, as we were working on the book, Sophia toddled over to us, clutching a picture book in her tiny hands. She looked up at us with her big, curious eyes, a smile spreading across her face. "Story?" she asked, her voice filled with innocent wonder. Andrea and I exchanged a smile, our hearts swelling with love. "Of course, sweetie," I said, lifting her onto my lap. "Let's read a story." As we read to Sophia, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the life we had built. We had faced so many challenges, but we had emerged stronger and more united. Our journey was far from over, but I knew that as long as we had each other, we could face anything. The love we shared, the strength we had found, and the family we had created were the greatest gifts of all. And as we looked towards the future, I knew that no matter what came our way, we would continue to grow and thrive together. As Sophia grew, so did our sense of fulfillment and joy. Our days were filled with laughter and the sweet chaos that comes with raising a toddler. Each new milestone was a celebration, and each challenge an opportunity to grow closer. We were thriving as a family, and our blog had turned into a small online community where people shared their own stories and found support. One bright spring morning, as I was working on a new piece of furniture in my garage workshop, Andrea came in with Sophia in tow. Sophia's eyes lit up at the sight of the wood and tools, and she toddled over to me, reaching up with her chubby hands. "Daddy, help!" she said, pointing at a small piece of wood. I smiled, lifting her onto my lap. "All right, Sophia, let's make something together." Andrea watched us with a smile, her eyes sparkling with love. She is definitely your daughter, Tim, already so interested in woodworking. We are going to make a little birdhouse, I told Sophia, guiding her hands as we worked on the project together. As we crafted the birdhouse, Andrea took photos, capturing the precious moments. Later, we would share these on our blog, showcasing not just our journey as a couple, but as a family. The blog had become a reflection of our life, a tapestry of love, resilience, and the beauty of everyday moments. That evening, after putting Sophia to bed, Andrea and I sat down to work on our book. We had written several chapters, and the process had been both cathartic and inspiring. Our goal was to finish the book by the end of the year and publish it as a way to give back to the community that had supported us so much. Tim, I was thinking, Andrea said, looking up from her laptop. What if we included a section with stories from our readers? They've been such a big part of our journey, and it could make the book even more special. I love that idea, I replied. Their stories have touched us so much. It would be a great way to honor them. We put out a call on our blog, inviting readers to share their own stories of overcoming challenges and finding strength in difficult times. The response was overwhelming. We received heartfelt messages from people all over the world, each story unique yet resonating with the common themes of resilience and hope. As we sifted through the submissions, Andrea and I felt a deep sense of connection to our readers. Their stories were a testament to the human spirit, and we were honored to include them in our book. One afternoon, while we were reviewing the latest batch of submissions, a message caught my eye. It was from a woman named Emily, who had been following our blog from the beginning. Dear Tim and Andrea, I have been a silent reader of your blog for the past year. Your story has given me hope and strength during one of the darkest times in my life. I recently found out that my husband has been unfaithful, and your journey inspired me to face the truth and seek help. I am now on my own path to healing and rebuilding my life. Thank you for sharing your story and for being a beacon of light for so many. With gratitude, Emily. I showed the message to Andrea, and we both felt a wave of emotion. It is amazing to see how our story is helping others, Andrea said, her eyes shining with tears. It makes everything we went through feel worth it. We reached out to Emily, offering our support and inviting her to share more of her story for the book. She responded with gratitude, and her journey became one of the many inspiring tales we included in our compilation. As the months passed, we continued to work on the book, balancing our writing with the demands of parenthood and our everyday lives. The process brought us even closer, reminding us of the strength we had found in each other. Finally, the day came when we held the first printed copy of our book in our hands. The cover featured a beautiful photo of the three of us, taken during one of our walks on the beach. The title read, Resilient Hearts, Our Journey of Love and Strength. We decided to celebrate with a small gathering at our home, inviting our friends and neighbors. The house was filled with laughter, warm hugs, and heartfelt congratulations. Andrea and I took a moment to stand on the porch, watching as Sophia played with the other children, her laughter echoing through the yard. We did it, Andrea said, her voice filled with pride. We turned our pain into something beautiful. I wrapped my arm around her, pulling her close. We did. And this is just the beginning. There is so much more to come. The success of our book brought new opportunities. We were invited to speak at events and workshops, sharing our story and connecting with even more people. Our blog continued to grow, and we received countless messages from readers who found solace and strength in our words. Life in Camden was everything we had hoped for and more. We had built a loving home, surrounded by a supportive community. Andrea and I were more in love than ever, and watching Sophia grow was the greatest joy of all. As we looked towards the future, we knew that challenges would come, but we also knew that we had the strength to face them together. Our journey was far from over, but we were ready for whatever came next, confident in the love and resilience that had brought us this far. With the success of our book, Resilient Hearts, Our Journey of Love and Strength, Andrea and I found ourselves in a whirlwind of new opportunities. We were invited to speak at conferences, participate in podcasts, and even appear on a few morning talk shows. It was surreal, but we embraced each opportunity, grateful for the chance to share our story and inspire others. One sunny morning, as we were preparing for a podcast interview, Andrea received an unexpected phone call. It was from a well-known publishing company interested in signing a deal for our next book. They were impressed with our story and believed we had much more to share. "Tim, can you believe it?" Andrea said, her voice filled with excitement. "They want us to write another book." I hugged her, sharing in her enthusiasm. "That's amazing! What should we write about this time?" "We could focus on parenting," Andrea suggested. "Our experiences, the challenges we've faced, and the joy of raising Sophia. There are so many parents out there who could benefit from our story." "I love that idea," I agreed. "Let us do it." We signed the deal and began brainstorming for our new book. We wanted to provide practical advice, share personal anecdotes, and offer encouragement to parents navigating the ups and downs of raising children. Our evenings were spent writing, our discussions often punctuated by Sophia's laughter as she played nearby. One weekend, we decided to take a family trip to a nearby nature reserve. It was a chance to unwind and spend quality time together amidst the beauty of the outdoors. We hiked through lush forests, had picnics by crystal-clear streams, and marveled at the wildlife. During one of our hikes, we stumbled upon a secluded meadow filled with wildflowers. Sophia ran ahead, her laughter echoing through the air as she chased butterflies. Andrea and I sat on a blanket, watching her with smiles on our faces. "This is perfect," Andrea said, leaning her head on my shoulder. "I feel so grateful for everything we have built together." "Me too," I replied, kissing the top of her head. "We've come so far, and it's moments like these that make it all worthwhile." As we watched Sophia play, we talked about our hopes and dreams for the future. We both agreed that we wanted to continue writing and sharing our journey, but we also wanted to focus on giving back to the community that had supported us so much. "Maybe we could start a foundation," Andrea suggested. "Something to support families going through tough times like we did." "I love that idea," I said. "We could provide resources, counseling, and even financial assistance to those in need." The idea of starting a foundation excited us both, and we began to lay the groundwork. We reached out to our network, enlisting the help of friends, neighbors, and professionals who believed in our vision. Within a few months, the Resilient Hearts Foundation was born. The foundation quickly gained traction, and we were able to help numerous families in our community and beyond. The impact was profound, and it filled us with a sense of purpose and fulfillment. One evening, after a particularly successful fundraising event, Andrea and I sat on the porch, reflecting on our journey. "Tim, I never imagined we'd be here," Andrea said, her voice filled with wonder. "From where we started to where we are now, it's incredible." "It really is," I agreed, "and I couldn't have done it without you. We've faced so much together, and we've come out stronger on the other side." Andrea smiled, her eyes shining with love. "I am so grateful for you, Tim, for our family and for everything we have built. I can't wait to see what the future holds." "Me neither," I said, pulling her close. "Whatever comes our way, we'll face it together." As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, we sat there holding each other, filled with a sense of peace and contentment. Our journey had been long and challenging, but it had also been beautiful and rewarding. We had grown together, faced our fears, and built a life filled with love and purpose. The future was bright, and we were ready to embrace it with open hearts, knowing that no matter what challenges came our way, we would always have each other. As the Resilient Hearts Foundation grew, so did our sense of fulfillment and connection to our community. Andrea and I dedicated ourselves to the cause, working tirelessly to support families in need. Our new book on parenting was taking shape, and we continued to receive messages from people all over the world who were inspired by our journey. One evening, as we were wrapping up a meeting with our Foundation's board members, Andrea received a message that left her speechless. "Tim, you won't believe this," she said, her eyes wide with astonishment. "We've been invited to speak at the National Resilience Conference in Washington, D.C. They want us to share our story and talk about the foundation." "Wow, that's incredible," I exclaimed, feeling a mix of excitement and pride. "This is such an honor." We accepted the invitation and began preparing for the event. The weeks leading up to the conference were a whirlwind of rehearsals, interviews, and planning. We wanted to ensure our message resonated with the audience and inspired them to embrace resilience in their own lives. The day of the conference arrived, and as we stood backstage, I felt a mixture of nerves and excitement. Andrea squeezed my hand, offering a reassuring smile. "We've got this, Tim. Let's go out there and share our story." The auditorium was packed, and as we walked onto the stage, we were greeted with warm applause. We took our seats and began sharing our journey, from the initial betrayal to the healing process, the birth of our daughter, and the creation of the foundation. As we spoke, I could see the impact our story was having on the audience. Faces softened with empathy, and eyes filled with tears as we recounted the struggles and triumphs that had defined our path. We ended our presentation by highlighting the work of the Resilient Hearts Foundation and the incredible stories of resilience we had encountered through our blog and book. The response was overwhelming. People lined up to speak with us, sharing their own stories of hardship and hope. Many expressed their gratitude for the work we were doing and how it had inspired them to keep going, even in the face of adversity. One woman in particular stood out. She approached us with a warm smile, her eyes brimming with tears. "Tim, Andrea, I can't thank you enough for sharing your story. My husband and I have been going through a tough time, and your words have given us hope. We are going to keep fighting for our marriage, just like you did." Her words touched me deeply, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was why we had shared our story to help others find the strength to overcome their challenges. After the conference, Andrea and I took a walk through the city, reflecting on the experience. "Can you believe how far we've come?" Andrea asked, her voice filled with wonder. "From that dark place to standing on a stage, inspiring others." "It's amazing," I replied, squeezing her hand. "And it's all because we faced our challenges together. We turned our pain into something beautiful." As we strolled through the city, we talked about the future and our plans for the foundation. We wanted to expand our reach, offering more resources and support to families in need. We also discussed our desire to continue writing and sharing our journey, knowing that our story could make a difference in the lives of others. Back in Camden, life continued to be filled with joy and purpose. Sophia was growing into a curious and compassionate child, and we cherished every moment with her. Our friends and neighbors remained a constant source of support, and the community we had built around the foundation thrived. One sunny afternoon, as we hosted a family picnic for the foundation, Andrea and I took a moment to step back and watch the scene unfold. Families laughed and played, children ran around with carefree abandon, and the air was filled with the sounds of happiness and connection. "This is what it's all about," Andrea said, her eyes shining with pride, "creating a space where people can find support and strength." I nodded, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. We've come full circle, haven't we? From struggling to find our own resilience to helping others discover theirs. Andrea smiled, wrapping her arm around me. "And it's only the beginning. There's so much more we can do, so many more lives we can touch." As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the picnic, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Our journey had been filled with challenges, but it had also been rich with love, growth, and transformation. We had faced our darkest moments and emerged stronger together. The future was bright, and as we looked ahead, we knew that no matter what challenges came our way, we would continue to embrace them with resilience and love. Our story was a testament to the power of perseverance, the strength of the human spirit, and the beauty of a love that could overcome anything. With Andrea by my side and Sophia growing up in a world filled with hope and possibility, I knew that our journey was far from over. There were new chapters to write, new dreams to chase, and new heights to reach, and as long as we had each other, there was nothing we couldn't achieve.